Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Spectacle Podcast. I'm American Spectator contributing editor and publisher of both Reviver.com and thehayride.com, Scott McKay, at your service. You may notice that this screen looks a little different than it normally does, which is to say that Melissa Mackenzie is off this week, so we brought in a ringer. Guys, say hello to Kurt Schlichter, a good friend of both myself and the American Spectator, one of the best authors and political commentators going in America today. Kurt, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good talking to you. We've got a subject that is, I guess we'll start with something that seems to be what everybody's talking about now, which is this. We're recording on Tuesday, the 28th of March, and yesterday was, another one of these horrific school shootings. This one had something of a twist in that I think it might be the first time that the shooter was a woman, although this particular woman is claiming not to be, or claimed rather not to be a woman. It's, I guess, the term of art these days is trans man, and it's a girl named Audrey who was calling herself Aiden, and went into this place with AR-15 and a couple of guns and shot 6 people, killed them all, and then the cops came really quickly and turned her lights out as well. And so now we're left kicking around the debris from this mess. Kurt, what do you say?
Well, this isn't the first one. There have been a number of these bizarre sexually confused individuals who've gone on mass killing sprees as a direct or indirect result of their manifest mental illness. So, this person had gone to the school before and obviously had a gripe with it. And apparently a gripe with Tennessee doing rational things like outlawing the mutilation of children and outlawing bizarre grooming rituals, aka drag queen story. And she decided that the best way to express that was to go find some Christians and murder them, including little kids. Kudos to the cops for decisively moving in and blowing the living shit out of them. Yes. There's a great. I really got to hand it to the Metro Nashville police, because all the footage is out there. They pixelated one of the bodies of one of the little kids this piece of garbage murdered. But you see the police officers come in there, pump a bunch of AR rounds into her, and then another cop pretty much dumps his mag into it as they advance. And lights out for asshole. I think it's very important that we establish that if you're going to murder little kids, you're going to die. And that law enforcement should aggressively move to kill anybody who does anything like that. I don't want to hear about prisoners. I don't want to hear about discussions or negotiations. I want bullets on targets. And right now, if you're one of these sissies who was in Uvalde and let a bunch of little kids be killed while you cowered armed, coward outside, I hope you feel like the shit you are, because you're garbage. And for the rest of your life, that's who you are. You're the guy who didn't go. If you're law enforcement or military, I was military, your job is to die if necessary. That is that's the downside. You get your free donuts, you get your thank you for your service, but at the end of the day, when stuff goes rotten, I need you to be taking the bullets and not the little kid. I expect that. And these cops didn't hesitate. They moved very effectively through the place. You could see the footage. Very professional. Were all their tactics perfect? Not quite, but it's a high stress situation. I'd still give them an A. You got people go, whoa, that one guy, he pushed one of the other guys out of the way. Dude, shut up. They heard the gunfire. They moved on the target. They confronted the target, engaged directly and forcefully, and killed her. And that was good.
Well, and I didn't see any evidence that there was any collateral damage in this. There was no friendly fire.
No.
I
There
mean,
could have
like, you
been.
know,
This is dangerous stuff, and any one of those guys could have been killed by her or by one of their buddies, because that, unfortunately, that stuff happens. But that's part of the, you know, you raise your hand. That's part of the risk you take. I don't want it to happen, but if somebody's got to get shot, I prefer it be the cop rather than
yeah.
the little kid. I just
Well,
that's how it goes. That's why we respect
look,
them.
that's,
And these
that's
guys do
Nashville.
deserve respect.
Yeah, that's Nashville compared to Uvalde.
Oh,
And look, the left dined out on that tragedy, that atrocity, whatever you want to call it. I mean, they're still doing it. And my guess is you're going to see with this incident in Nashville,
yeah.
it's
Memory
already
hole.
done. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's already done. Yeah,
yeah, it's the wrong killer. It's this trans weirdo who decided to, look, I'm not trying to be Mr. Sunny guy, but most people who have a gender dysphoria thing have no desire to hurt anybody else, and they should be treated with respect. They've got an issue as long as they stay the hell away from me. And little kids, they could do what they want. And nobody should go and bully them or pick on them. That's stupid and low class. But this one had a gripe. This one, Nashville recently passed some laws protecting kids. That was important. And this person didn't like it and decided, well, I'm going to murder some Christian children because of it. And, that doesn't fit the narrative that the left wants. The left wants, another of these Christian Republican NRA members murdering because of racism, which literally never happens.
right.
Because for any of those things, Christian, NRA, gun-loving, Republican, all of which I am, none of those involve hating other people just because of who they are.
Well,
you hate people for what they do, that's fine, but not what they are. That's stupid and unchristian and un-American.
Well, and the one they keep coming back to over and over and over again, when they try to push this narrative, is Dylan Roof, right? Who was the one in Charleston that shot up.
Yeah, didn't he get the death penalty? Good.
Yes, and the thing about him,
I don't understand why he was taken alive, frankly.
Well, I don't either. But the common thread between that one and this one is these are attacks on Christianity and Christians.
Exactly.
Which is something you're absolutely not allowed to talk about, which I think
that's
right. About time we force that into the conversation.
Yes. All these people, the common thread was these were murders of Christians. Dylan Roof murdered black Christians at a black Christian church. I don't think he'd have hesitated to kill white Christians. He just hated Christians. And this evil weirdo yesterday also hated Christians and decided, it's going to go murder. And that's, look, get on social media. There's a lot of hate to Christians, and there were folks celebrating yesterday. Well, if there's really a God, how could a church be shot up? Okay, theologist. It's nice that a guy's both qualified as a theologist and an asshole. Look, you got to understand, and I'm right about this at town hall later this week. Some of these people hate you and want you dead. They literally want you dead. They don't think you are a human being. They think you are something other who doesn't deserve to live. Now, I freely admit, I think that anybody who goes and murders little kids is other and doesn't deserve to live. That absolutely, you got me. But I don't feel that way about other people. And these people feel the same way that the socialists in Russia, the socialists in Germany, because of course National Socialists, or the Khmer Rouge, or Castro's people, or the Red Chinese, or any other communist socialist murderers felt. These are others. They are subhuman. They are unworthy of life, and you may do whatever you wish to. And you have to understand that they're actually serious about that. If they had the power to do it, they would do it. This is why they're so eager to disarm you. No one wants you less able to defend yourself for your own good. They want you less able to defend yourself so you're less able to defend yourself.
Well, yeah. And I mean, it's really something. You spend any time on Twitter, and what you'll see is these same people who are making these otherization statements about Christians and people that disagree with them politically. They're subhuman and like everything you just said, are the exact same people that go on and on and on about how you need to give up your guns for the greater good. And it's like, well, you just said I was subhuman and didn't deserve to live, and now you want my gun.
Yeah.
Seems like you're asking an awful lot of me without providing much in return, right?
Yeah, I know. I'll get right on that. And you look what happens in a place like Australia or England, and you have people getting arrested for tweeting things because the government doesn't have to fear the people. I want the government terrified of the people, that the people will throw them out of office, that the people will not pay their taxes, that if they turn actively tyrannical, then in our American Revolution, which of course we're nowhere near, but you give up your guns, that option goes out. The option of the citizens taking back the power in the country goes out the window. And I don't propose that happen. It may not be fashionable to talk about among the regime, but the regime wants to preserve its own power. I say the power should be among the people, and power comes from the barrel of a gun.
I think that's well established through history for sure. Okay, let me insert another topic because you mentioned Great Britain. I saw something this morning that blew my mind, which is that the leaders of the UK, Ireland, Scotland, and the mayor of London are all either of Pakistani or Indian descent. And this is just a few years after the grooming scandal in Rotherham and other places in England, which were basically Pakistani gangs that were turning native English girls into prostitutes. And, the whole country went absolutely crazy about that. And 5 years later, they've elected people of the same ethnic stock to run the entire country. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but that is just a shocking, amazing thing to me.
Well, I think it's amazingly good because it shows that the English are not racially prejudiced. Look, there are schmucks of every race. There's white schmucks, there's black schmucks, there's brown schmucks, there's a whole rainbow of schmucks. There are schmucks trans people. There are also highly conservative trans people who agree with you and me about pretty much everything and just have that little part of their life which we find bizarre. But I think you should vote for the best person. If you are an English subject, because they're not citizens, if you're an English subject and your family came from India and you're the best person to be the leader, or you could convince people that you're the best, you should be elected. So I give credit to the British for not allowing racial prejudice to guide them about what they are. I think it's an interesting and fun fact, and to the extent it is anything, it's to the credit of Britain. To keep in mind, the mayor of London is very left wing. The prime minister is conservative. So it's also not one party. You have these ethnic groups able to work within every party. And you look at the United States, and I think that here you would get the same thing. Certainly among conservative, left-wingers are obsessed parties. Conservatives, man, you give me a female Hindu who is America first, count me in. These are just not factors that matter to us a great deal. And just because there are schmucks in every ethnic group doesn't mean the whole ethnic group is bad. I don't think that you should hide the fact that, yes, these groomer gangs were largely Pakistani. Okay, that's an important and true fact. what conclusion does it lead you to? Well, okay, if we're going to have grooming gangs, perhaps we should look at these groups as more likely to do it. But it doesn't mean that only those groups do it or these groups are inherently bad or whatever.
Right. Well, I'm not saying that. What amazes me about it is that 5 years after all of this, and there was this big scandal, like, folks that if you were a bigot, you would associate with the grooming gangs are running all of these different countries.
Well, and again, it's actually both parties. So you have both parties who are saying, well, I'm not going to choose on otherwise irrelevant factors, which I think is just fine.
Well, what it does is it blows up this idea of Western civilization. And, of course, we obsess about it here in America as a racist society.
Yeah. Western civilization doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the people who were occupying the West 1,000 years ago. Okay, Western civilization is a choice. And if you come here, to the West, I mean, you look at like Nigerian Americans tend to be very, very successful by applying what people would say were Western values and skills: strong family, strong work ethic, entrepreneurialism, and successful. They've chosen to accept the Western way of thinking. So the Western way of thinking, and again, I'm not trying to be Mr. Open-minded liberal guy, but it's obvious that being Western is a choice. And we have people who are here from the West who are choosing not to embrace the choices of the West. And the choices of the West, when they start talking about their damn socialism, when they start talking about their about their woke racist idiocy and that crap, well, that's against everything the West was. So you have people whose ancestors were as here in the physical West for 100 generations who've completely rejected, and you have folks who just come here and the first generation completely embraces it.
Well, you lead me into something that actually Melissa and I wanted to talk about a couple of weeks ago and didn't get around to. There was a congressional hearing in the House, and it was on energy, and one of the experts there was a guy named Alex Epstein, who's a consultant, does a lot of really good work on the subject of oil and gas and how necessary it is. And he's given his talk, and Cori Bush, who is a congresswoman from the slums of St. Louis, proceeds to grill Alex Epstein on the racism of his advocacy for Western civilization. It's like, well, you're a white supremacist because all you talk about is how Western civilization is better. And you can he didn't exactly go that way, but what you can see the gears turning in his head was Epstein's like, hey lady, you're the congresswoman from St. Louis. Like it or not, you're part of Western civilization at a pretty high level. So what are you even talking about, right?
Look, Cori Bush is like a clinical imbecile. I mean, she's literally one of the dumbest people ever. And the important thing with these woke garbage people is you've got to push back on, well, you're a white supremacist. Well, you're a moron. You're a moron and you're a liar. You're a stupid person. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think. I don't care if you think I'm a white supremacist or a Gemini or a teetotaler or a football player. Your opinion, I'm absolutely indifferent to anything you think. You're a fool and an embarrassment. Kiss my ass. And also, climate change is a giant hoax. So that's how I would have responded.
I take that from your statement. I take it to mean that you probably won't be sending a campaign contribution to Sheila Jackson Lee, who is now running for mayor of Houston.
Yeah, I got in-laws down there. Good luck to them. Yeah, she's another buffoon. I don't know why. Some of these people are just deeply stupid. She's the idiot with the hats, right?
No. That's Frederica Wilson. Sheila Jackson Lee is the
I
one
get
that
my
has
idiots mixed up.
the very intricate uh, Star Trek braids on her hair.
Okay.
And she's the one that was talking about how we planted the U.S. flag on Mars, and I can't remember what her most famous foible was, but she's had so many.
But she's just a dummy.
Yeah, no,
she's
she really
stupid,
is.
and I think blue cities are determined to commit suicide. And unfortunately, we've got to let them. It's like an alcoholic. Everybody knows, like, you have a friend who drinks too much, and you like sit down with them. Like, dude, you got to stop drinking. Something. Yeah, you're right. I got to stop drinking. So they get shit faced. And eventually, you've just got to let them wake up in someone else's yard, a sea of their own vomit, with somebody else's pants around their ankles, and it hurts when they pee. And they go, okay, I've hit bottom. Right. So that's what has to happen to the, and then they're like, I'm going to get help. I really am getting help now. This is, I'm either going to die or, it's going to hurt when I pee forever. That's what's going to happen with the blue cities. And I think that we need to make a big deal out of pointing out your city sucks and you're in charge of it. All these cities are Democrat cities. There's no Republicans there to blame. It's not the Republicans coming in from out of town, turning your shitty hellhole into a shitty hellhole. It's your own citizens who are doing it. And they're also electing you idiots. And it's your own fault. And you're going to swim in your own filth. And we're not going to help you. And if I was if we take back the House and the presidency, I would say we're also not going to subsidize.
Yeah, well, that's what.
So you're not going to do that. If you want to declare yourself a sanctuary city, that's great. We're not giving you any federal funding for anything. You can do it all on your own, and you can call me a racist if you want, or a sexist, or a transphobe, or or whatever you want. I don't care. It's important not to care, Scott. Too many Republicans are like, oh my God, well, they're going to be very upset. We'll read some bad in the New York Times. Yes, you will. You know what will also happen if you submit? You'll read some bad about you in the New York Times. You can't suck their toes hard enough to make them love you. So don't try. You've got a bunch of advantages here. You save time. You save dignity. It's wonderful. Stop caring. If somebody comes up to you and calls you a racist, well, look, if you're a racist, that's between you and God. All right? So you deal with your own conscience. The fact that some drooling moron like Cori Bush or a ridiculous buffoon like Sheila Jackson Lee has something to say, I literally, it's hard for me to quantify how little I can. You literally need Stephen Hawking and a team of crack math wizards calculating a number low enough that represents the amount of damns I give for what those two baffling morons think about anything is. It's important to stop caring, because caring what they say gives them an advantage, and they deserve none. All they deserve is your contempt and mockery. Give them that.
All right. So I'm going to hit you with something that we discussed last week here at the Spectacle, which is I've got a friend who's running for state rep here in Louisiana. And he and I kicked around an idea, and he ultimately ended up writing a post at the Hayride about it, which essentially says this: let's start in Louisiana. We can do it in every other red state if we want. Let's start a voluntary program by which we'll suspend the sentences of criminals if they agree to voluntary banishment and a bus or plane ticket to a sanctuary city that our attorney general will designate. The criteria basically for that is that the district attorney in charge of the place doesn't charge criminals for felonies. In other words, the Soros DA places. So you can, instead
of great, you're sending them to me.
Yeah, well, you live in Malibu, though. You're not exactly in LA.
No, I live in Los Angeles County, though.
Well, you may have to worry.
Well, look, I'm not worried, though, as I live in a rich liberal area by the beach. And they're not going to let criminals come here.
They regulate that.
Yeah, the defund the police thing, that's for the peasants. That's not for here. You think the cops in my neighborhood are going to let some hobo amble down one of the residential streets? That's not in the cards. And then you'll get lectured. My neighbor he said Don DeSantis is an authoritarian for not being more open-minded. Also, oh my gosh, there's someone with dirty clothes in my neighborhood. A SWAT team shows up, and that's I'm one of those guys who look. I'm a blue state lawyer. I live fine. Okay, I live fine. I'm inside the palace in the feudal system. So it's fine for me. It's all these, it's regular folks, who may not live in a rich liberal area by the beach who are suffering, but they're also the same dummies who vote for Democrats. So it's kind of on them.
Right.
Well, this is, look, I believe in pain as a teacher. There's two ways you can teach: other people's experience or your own bad experiences. I prefer to try and learn from other people's experience because I'm not an idiot, but there are a lot of stupid people who need to learn from pain. So let them learn. They're going to learn one way or the other. It doesn't necessarily have to hurt, but if that's how you choose, that's okay with me. I'm not going to suffer the crime problem to the extent they are. I'm not going to suffer the economic dislocation. I'm not going to suffer a lot of the hassles that they have. There's enough that makes me think maybe I should leave here, but not so much that I have to. And my advantage is I can if I want to. Most of them can't. So keep voting Democrat, dumbass.
All right, so we can mark you down as pro or con on the voluntary banishment.
Oh, I'm all for
sanctuary cities.
I'm all for it. What's the argument against it?
Well,
you're sending criminals to us. You don't think they're criminals. If you thought they were criminals, you would arrest them.
Right.
And people like them. But you don't.
You coddle your own criminals, so you're bigoted against somebody else's criminals? Like, how does that work?
Just make sure it's people who are convicted of analogous crimes that do not get charged in those venues.
Right.
So if it's
petty theft.
If it's a petty theft guy, we don't charge petty theft in LA. You guys don't mess around in Louisiana. You got Angola State Prison. There's no BS in Louisiana.
Well, we do have Soros DAs in New Orleans and Shreveport now.
Oh, really?
And and I mean, the crime rate.
Well, as I understand, New Orleans is a paradise.
Well,
I'll tell you one thing. It used to be everybody was like, "Oh, I love to go to New Orleans. It's great." I never hear anybody say that anymore. Weird, huh?
The place is in such bad shape. I'll tell you a quick story about that. Right around Thanksgiving this past year, Tyrus, who does the Gutfeld show, lives actually in Mandeville across the lake from New Orleans. Yeah.
Oh, you and I went there.
Yeah. He's doing a comedy tour back in October, November last year. I guess he's still on it, but so the New Orleans one was going to be like kind of the homecoming episode of that tour. So we're it's in a place downtown New Orleans. We're standing out front. Across the street from the theater is the Roosevelt, which is a really, really nice hotel. In fact, Kirk, you've been there.
No, you put me up there.
You get the Sazerac cocktail and all that.
Oh my gosh. You got to bring me back to Louisiana, by the way.
Well, they're not beat it in New Orleans because I'm about to tell the story. So anyway, we're looking across the street right in front of the Roosevelt, as we're standing in line to get in the theater.
Again, that's like a Ritz-Carlton or Waldorf. It's something. That's a nice place.
Yeah, no, it's a super nice hotel. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, it was nice.
Anyway, there's a guy and his female companion, and they're quarreling out front of the hotel. And this quarreling consists, of raised voices and then F-bombs. And then she hits him, and then he hits her. And the two cops that are working at the door at the Orpheum Theater where we're about to go in look at each other, roll their eyes, and they kind of amble across the street and figuring, okay, well, somebody's going to get cuffed and stuffed in a cop car. That didn't happen. Instead, it was, hey, you're scaring the fish away. Hit the road. And so they made these two idiots go around the block. And, who knows? There might have been, a homicide. The cops were like, they shoot them away and then went back. Everybody in line is like, New Orleans, right? And this is basically what the city has become. The cops can't be bothered. NOPD used to stand for New Orleans Police Department. Now it stands for not our problem, dude.
Why should it be? Here's the thing. Troops react to what the commander says. If the commander says, essentially, I'm not going to charge these guys if you arrest them. Why would I arrest them? Particularly if I get into a giant brawl with this guy and it gets ugly and I hurt him, you think they're going to be, you think I'm going to walk? You think they're not going to charge my ass? So if dipshit A and dipshit B want to play Punch and Judy, oh, well, I'll call the meat wagon, but I'm going home tonight.
Yeah.
Well, and if you guys, I know they'd be willing to risk things if they thought they had their back. If they thought, if I get into a fight, I'm going to get the benefit of the doubt, and unless the DA sees me take this guy behind and shoot him 4 times in the back of the head, there's no way I'm ever getting charged with anything. But they don't feel like that. They think any chance that Soros DA has to screw me, he's gonna. So all yours, baby.
Well, and it's not just that, because every judge in that city, and this is true of all these blue cities, all of these judges are hardcore lefties. And even if the prosecutor wanted to push these cases, lots of luck in front of the judge who's going to look for any kind of way to throw these cases out that they can. So, everything has broken down in a lot of these places. Here's something interesting.
You have a Democrat governor who doesn't seem very willing to pressure the system.
He's almost done. We've got an election this fall, and it's almost assuredly going to be a party changeover in the governor's mansion in Louisiana. We'll see which stripe of Republican we get, but we will get one, and I think it's going to make a difference. Here's something interesting, and we talked about this a little bit last week, and I want to get your take on it. So in some red states where there are blue cities that are dysfunctional, what you're starting to see is state legislators and the governor beginning to kind of wedge their way in to see if they can't do something about this stuff. And the case that's most obvious that I'll bring up is, so Mississippi, the city of Jackson is about as big a blue city disaster as you can get. Like, things are so bad there that they didn't just have the Flint water crisis in Jackson where the water that came out of the tap is poisonous. The water stopped coming out of the tap in Jackson. Like, that's how bad it was. And it wasn't because the pipes
Democrats.
Right. The pipes were old and full of lead and all this. Like, they literally went from 11 certified engineers working in the water system in Jackson to 1. And stopped collecting the bills from the people of Jackson because they couldn't make the software work, and they didn't want to shut anybody's water off when they were getting $2,000 water bills for a 1-bedroom apartment. So the whole system broke down, and the federal government has now thrown $800 million into the kitty to try and fix it. And the state legislature has stepped in and said, we're going to do a regional water authority because the city of Jackson is not going to do their own water system ever again. And this is now being called apartheid. But then the other really interesting thing.
Well, no, I don't support. I think the city of Jackson should run its own water system. I think it should. I don't think outsiders should assist because I think that's condescending.
And I know where you're going.
And that's you know.
And if the water system produces no water, then
the water system produces no water. I'm sure they'll be able to figure it out using let's see what indigenous knowledge and land acknowledgments and consensus building among multiple gender identities. Look, I believe in consequences, man. You're too stupid to run a water system. Your people don't get to drink. Vote accordingly.
So here's something else that's happened in Mississippi that is, I think, really actually going to start to play in a lot of places. So Jackson's crime rate, it doesn't qualify as a major city, right? So like when you see like the murder capitals of America, like Jackson doesn't measure up because the population is not big enough. Having said that, Jackson plays in the big leagues on murder, right? Like there's zero law and order there. So, and like their car theft is a thing in Jackson. It's like an art form there. But, you know, the deal is that's the state capital, right? So the legislators park their cars. They've got a Jackson Capitol Police that patrols like the Capitol complex. But if these guys like go to lunch somewhere off campus, like this has been a couple of pretty heavily publicized incidents of, you know, 4 legislators take somebody's car and they go to this, you know, lunch place and they come out of the lunch place and the car is stolen. And it sort of pisses them off a little. So basically what has happened is they have now thrown a pile of money at the Jackson Capitol Police, which used to basically patrol the Capitol compound in Jackson. It's now got 300 officers and it patrols basically all of downtown Jackson. Not only that, the state legislature has built a court system that's like the judges are appointed by the governor, right? So they're not even elected by the people of Jackson. And if you get arrested by the Jackson Capitol Police, you go to the governor's appointed judges with the you know, governor appointed prosecutors and the whole bit. And it's like very different than if you
I imagine
the city courts in Jackson. And so this has now been called apartheid. And they're like, we've got to break this down. And they filed all these lawsuits and this is like this whole thing. And it's like, well, you know, we don't have a say in how this is run. It's like, yeah, you do. Yeah. You can vote for governor. That would lose that election, unlike the city of Jackson where you win them all, right?
Well, I think I look at what happened in El Salvador, where the president down there said, you know, we're sick of having the highest murder rate in the world. So he basically sent his folks in and arrested all the gang members and put them into a real prison, not like the fun prison where they get to hang around all day and gang. It's like basic training prison where it's like, you over there, move. And
don't they have
the murder rate dropped to like 1% of what it was.
They have like 45,000 people in that jail or something.
Yeah, just that's like, what you need to do. Here's where criminals are going. The problem with we have an incarceration crisis in America. Too few people are incarcerated. You've got a choice. You can go to jail, or you can not commit crimes. There's no you can commit crimes and not go to jail. That's no longer an option. You're going, and you just are. I mean, when people see things like scumbags come in with big bags and start taking things off shelves and nothing can do anything about it,
right?
That's a problem. And the problem is it shows that the society is breaking down. You can live off the corpse of stability for a while, but eventually they're going to look to somebody and they're always saying, "Run the shit, you're a big authoritarian." You know, normal people are going to go, well, if authoritarian means I don't have people coming in and stealing all the stuff off shelves and a hobo taking a crap on my lawn, then I'm all for authoritarians. And you will get a backlash, and it will be a real backlash. and it will they will throw open an Overton window.
Well, I mean, the backlash,
and you will start seeing pain.
The backlash you've already seen in a lot of these places. San Francisco's a like perfect example. I mean, when you go and you loot the Walgreens, then you find that there's no more Walgreens to loot, right? Because
that'll be part of it.
We're done, right?
That'll be
they
part
burned
of it.
down, the Walmarts and the Targets in Chicago and Minneapolis, and corporate says, well, we're not putting a store there anymore. Our shrinkage rate became 100% at this store. We decided that we didn't want to have the store there anymore. And what you guys can do is you can come to our location in the suburbs, and let's see what happens to you when you try to loot the place. You're probably going to end up dead, right? Like, I mean, that's because that's how they roll in the suburbs. Well, look, and when you're at Walmart, you look at that and you say, you know what, this is a better business model than the inner city for us is.
I think we will. I definitely think we're going to see a backlash, and that includes force used by cops. Because at the end of the day, normal people are going to go, I don't really want cops beating the hell out of people, but I want thieves and criminals and rapists in my neighborhood even less. So if you got to beat the shit out of some of these guys, okay.
Well, fine. I mean, look, everywhere where the criminals have taken over, the businesses have moved out because you can't do business in a place where there's no rule of law. You just can't. Well, it's not doable. And I think these guys have found that out. I mean, back when the Obamas were in the White House, I got such a kick out of Michelle Obama running around talking about food deserts.
Yeah.
In the inner city. It was like, because try to run a grocery store in the inner city where, the place is overrun with crooks and they steal all the stuff in the store, right? They loot. You can't run a meat department because the meat goes out the back door and through the front, out the front door, and nobody pays for anything. And eventually, you can't, the grocery industry cannot handle a 20% shrinkage rate.
No,
like you just can't. No. I mean, these people operate on 5% margins or less. And so here's Michelle Obama. Well, there's no fresh vegetables in the hood. And it's like, well, yeah, I get it, because you don't make money on vegetables. You make money on meat, and they steal all the meat. So what are you going to do? Right?
Well, look, I think you will see a lot of the people who are there leave, and I think you will see no new people coming. And again, I think the appropriate people to suffer are the people who elected the Democrats, which are the people of the inner cities. So you want to live like shit, vote accordingly.
Yeah, I think that's.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. There's no magic wand that lets thieves run rampant and there are no consequences. That doesn't get to happen. All right. I mean, I guess it did in. I guess it does in Jackson, where other people are going to pay because they're freaking idiots. But
all right, let me shift gears a little bit here. I got a headline for you. Democrats favor the Palestinians over the Israelis for the first time, according to a Gallup poll released this week and conducted before the dramatic protests in Israel against Benjamin Netanyahu's judicial reforms. So now you've got the Palestinian Party.
Yeah, I think I think the Democrats have an important point here, and we should listen to them, because they're very much against changing the current Israeli law, which is the current Supreme Court gets to choose its own replacements. And I think not doing that is seriously racist, and I think that should happen here in America too. So we've got to stop Netanyahu, and we have to impose the existing great Israeli system here immediately and allow our Supreme Court to appoint all its own replacements. So I got to agree with the Democrats on that. I think I'm getting it right. But
I don't think it's a bad idea at all, right? Like,
I think it's a wonderful idea, and I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad they brought that to our attention. Seems like a a good policy, prudent policy. As for hating Israel, yeah, hating Jewish people is pretty big on the left. And I know they'll say, well, I don't hate Jewish people. I just hate Israelis. Okay. Well, you know that word dog whistle you guys invented? It's blowing really loud. It's going so loud I can hear.
Yeah, a little bit. Well,
yeah. So
on that Supreme Court topic, I am now, up until a couple of days ago, I hadn't even really thought about it, but I am now a massive proponent of Kyle Duncan being the next Supreme Court justice, just to see the people at Stanford Law School lose their minds over the fact
Stanford.
What has happened to that school, Kurt? I mean, what is...
Look, it was always a festival of leftists. Unfortunately, I don't know why, and this happened in the 60s too. The established faculty, they're pretty liberal folks. And in some ways, they sympathize with these kids. But they don't have the stones to exercise their power and dominance. And even now, the weekly writes a letter, oh, this is bad, you can't do this. I'm giving a minor suspension to the faculty equity jerk who participated in this. The proper thing is, if you want to solve this, here's how the First Amendment goes. The speaker gets to speak, you don't get to disrupt him. The administrator is fired. All the people I identify, you're suspended for the rest of the semester. You do it again, you're expelled. Are you guys clear on what our rules are? Well, we're going to protest. Protest all you want. Disrupt things, violate our rules, and you will join the others in suspension or expulsion. Not a game, not playing. This isn't about a discussion. This is how it is. Now, that's how it is in court. You don't get to go in and cry and scream. They're not creating lawyers. They're creating a bunch of activists. And I think a lot of people are going to see that. I think a lot fewer people are going to hire from Harvard. I think a lot fewer judges, though the liberal ones will still hire them, are going to take them as clerks. But no, I don't understand, just out of self-preservation, why these institutionalists don't manage their own institutions. I was reading Stephen Krakauer's book Uncovered about the media, and it's a nice book. Lots of anecdotes, lots of writing by media people about moderate ones. It means just highly liberal ones, saying, "Well, these radicals that are coming in are really upsetting everything." Yeah, and you let them. When the dipshits at the New York Times, 300 of them protested about Tom Cotton running an article, and then they did it again with this trans thing. They even managed to get an editor fired. That was the time to go, you're at the New York Times. You don't ever do this. You, and you. You're all fired. The rest of you, if I ever hear you break ranks and bring our business outside, you're fired too. Now get back to work. It would stop.
Okay, I'm going to pick up on something you just said, talking about the topic of people getting fired. What do you make of the chair of OpenAI talking about how ChatGPT is just going to make a whole bunch of jobs go away? And I asked this because last week, Melissa and I did a decent chunk of the podcast talking about the technological change that AI has sort of imposed on more culture than the economy, but this guy's now talking about the economics of all this. Where do you come down on that?
Well, I think, first of all, I don't think we should be calling it AI because it's not intelligence. It is pattern recognition,
right,
and information gathering and processing. that always goes through the guardrails of the usually leftists who program it. For instance, if you say good things about Trump, I can't. He's a bad person. Say good things about Biden. Oh, he's wonderful.
Right.
Okay, somebody programmed that. It's not the idea. There's this computer that will neutrally evaluate all the facts and come into the exact same conclusions that the programmers from liberal Santa Clara County, California, believe in, is a giant myth for stupid people. And the idea of calling it artificial intelligence reaffirms that. That being said, improving pattern recognition and data assembly processes is going to get rid of a lot of jobs. It's going to get rid of a lot of lawyers. The ability to feed all the case facts into a computer, instead of having a lawyer sit down there and write out discovery, interrogatory questions, document demands, and review documents and stuff, that seems to be like a natural thing. As far as forming arguments, it can, but they're not great arguments. It can do a lot of like monkey work writing, like BuzzFeed stuff. Here are 10 lists of great cat jokes. Right. AI could certainly do that. The higher end creativity stuff, it can't do and probably won't be able to do. But there's a lot of jobs for people. Most of them require a bachelor's degree that basically involve, assembling the TPU spreadsheet from Office Space. It's things that now can be done by a computer, and they don't need you to do it, and they certainly don't need you to go to college to do it.
Yeah, that's sort of the test here is how many jobs will get lost to AI where the person currently holding the job honestly says they love their job, right? And I don't think there are very many of those, right? No. I think there's probably a bunch of people that, oh my God, how will I eat? And if you teach them how to be a plumber or a carpenter, they're probably going to be a lot happier,
exactly,
more well-adjusted in their lives.
It's all the monkey work jobs, the cubicle jockey jobs that right now require a person to, I'm a people person. I go from the engineers to the other engineers. You can't work. You can work without me. I'm the key part of the process. I talk to them both. A lot of those jobs are going to go away, and the job that needs to be done. Look, I'm looking outside. My fence needs painted. Okay, AI is not going to paint my fence, but somebody's going to paint my fence. It's probably going to cost me a couple bucks to get it done. You're going to have those jobs. You're going to have some higher order jobs. I think it would be hard for lawyers arguing to jury to be AI, though I think lawyers will start using AI to help create arguments and find patterns and evidence and things. There's a lot, certainly in medical diagnostics. I think it has the ability to basically redo the way we do doctors, which is broken anyway. And it's now getting all woke. Doctors are chosen on the basis of race, sex, gender, and all that stuff. And there are very few medical colleges. It's an artificial shortage, and we're going to have a giant shortage down the road. And of course, people are too stupid to do anything about it now when they could. But I think, I think it would be very easy to use AI to come up with diagnostics and stuff, and get rid of a significant amount of the medical work currently done by human beings. I think there's a lot of things it can do, but the people it's going to get are kind of like the upper middle class, middle management-y, or white collar-y types who have been fooled and who 50 years ago wouldn't have been white collar. These jobs wouldn't exist.
Right.
The other thing that we're going to see is fewer of these diversity, equity people, because they're just sucking the life out of organizations, and they cost a ton of money. And, the recession's already here, but it's going to get admitted to soon.
Right.
And I just don't think you're going to see companies wanting to pay for 50 diversity consultants whose whole job is to maintain ethnic hatred, because that's what
Well,
diversity people do. You're not going to have 100
well,
people
yeah.
sitting around going, no, still no problems.
Well, when you right. When you start to see a Silicon Valley bank, right, where the bank literally goes under
Yes.
less than a year before they basically turn their entire business model over to DEI and climate change and all this kind of stuff. And then you see Ford Motor Company is going to lose $3 billion on EVs this year. Right. So like you've got all of this evidence of, get woke, go broke. Then you've got the AI stuff that kicks in so that you can shed jobs and still get the work done. I mean, at what point do you not see, corporate America going, you know what? We can get AI to do all the DEI work in our office right now because AI is already woke. Now, whether people are going to pay attention to the AI chatbot that freaking tells you have to show up to the diversity training seminar, I don't know. But the point is, wouldn't it be hilarious if AI ended up eating up all of the HR jobs that 10 years ago didn't exist?
It'd be beautiful
In the DEI
well, look,
sector?
A lot of jobs we've invented that aren't really necessary, but they support this kind of low-end white-collar class, the Trader Joe's Chardonnay class,
right,
are going away.
Well, this is the thing, though. Those people vote. So, like, what do you think?
But what are they going to vote to do?
Well,
that's the thing. There's no real there's no real policy that's going to,
and AOC and these guys aren't going to come up with bills that outlaw the use of AI in a lot of these fields where sort of the wine moms and the secretarial class is currently working.
I think they'll try it, but what's going to happen is they're not going to call it AI. They're just going to use technology to make the jobs unnecessary. And while you might not be able to fire these people, you can sure as hell not hire any more of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what it's going to be is these guys are going to market apps to businesses. Hey, this can handle all of your, whatever, use our company and we have this app that everything runs off of. And then, do you get these, the same hearing you had with TikTok last week? Do you get that, for, whatever these business apps AI?
Well, look, I'm already seeing as a lawyer, I'm already getting the, hey, use our AI discovery, product.
Right.
And I think, I think we're going to have a lot of changes in the white collar world. And those are coming. I think in the blue collar world, where you're actually doing something, we would be wise to grant it more respect and more emphasis now, because look, the computer's never going to fix the plumbing.
Yeah,
just not.
Well, yeah, what I find interesting about this is now you start to have this discussion, right? Because now that AI can write blog posts, which like you said, are a lot like BuzzFeed, like they're barely readable. But then again, go look at BuzzFeed.
So we're a lot of blog posts.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of the coming to fruition of something. I think it was Ted Cruz who said it back in, I think it was the 2016 presidential campaign, was saying, look, if all of these illegals coming across the border were displayed, if they all came with journalism degrees,
it'd be a crisis.
Screeching to put up the wall. And so it's you had the illegals come and they're in the blue collar world depressing wages, but then AI comes along to do the same thing to some of these white collar jobs that the new left wants to do, And so it's like, well, at least we've got a little bit of equity in the crisis realm here that, everybody's job is in trouble. And, that's maybe not such a bad thing for everybody to feel the pinch rather than just a certain group of people that you want to otherize.
Look, the high end in every field is not going to feel it. Okay. The AI is not going to take over the hayride. The AI can't pick up the phone and call, a Louisiana senator and get, his insights into what just happened as it relates to Shreveport. Okay. That's something only you can do because you're a human being. It's not going to take over for me writing Town Hall or my amazing Kelly Turnbull books, which you all should get. And by the way,
we're going to talk about that in a second.
But so nor is it going to try cases because it's still going to be a jury. So you need a human being to relate to them. So I'm not worried about AI except to the extent it makes my expenses go down. It makes things cheaper for me. I'm not going to get displaced by AI anytime soon. But there are a lot of people who are, and they don't even see it coming.
Yeah. All right. Because we're coming to the end of this, I do want to talk about Kelly Turnbull and the Kurt Schlichter experience of novels, because I've read all 6, and they're 7. I'm sorry, 7, and they're fantastic, and eerily prophetic.
Yeah,
like creepily, eerily prophetic in a lot of respects. Like when January 6th happened, I can't remember which book it. Crisis has basically the January 6th scenario, almost to a T. Not quite, but
about close 2 months before it happened.
Yeah, close enough to get your goosebumps showing up on your skin as you read it, because Kurt basically had the agent provocateur scenario of the January 6th stuff locked down pat. So if you haven't read the Kelly Turnbull books, you should start. They're fantastic. Hopefully one day there will be some massively successful conservative streaming service that makes a series of that.
That would be nice.
So, all right. So is there going to be an 8th Kelly Turnbull book, or what are we looking at?
I'm on 28,500 right now. It's called Overlord. Right. So I got about 80,000 words to write. It'll be out this spring. It's coming along really well. And if you remember last time we were together, you took me on that long causeway.
Right. Yeah, we actually talked about making a TV series out of the Kelly Turnbull books. But.
Yeah. Well, there is a big action set piece on that bridge.
Ah, okay. Well, that's okay. That sounds pretty good. All right. So what's the premise of this next one you got?
Oh, well, the America is split in 2, and Red America is still fighting with Blue America. And, the blue side is doing nefarious things, and Kelly Turnbull, the hero, has to go and stop it. So it's a lot of fun to write. They're a lot of fun to write. They're a lot of fun to read. I sold a ton of them. People are just dying for good conservative action novels. I started writing them because I got really bored with other people's writing because it was all formulaic. All my books are different. They have a different feel, different vibe. It just, I can't believe I'm on 8. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
But I always get in the top 100. Every time I sell, I think I got to like number 58 in all of Amazon with Inferno.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, the thing is that, look, they're quick reads. Like they're really quick reads. Like, when you put one out, I'll knock it out. Like I'll start on a Saturday morning and by mid-afternoon, I'm done. Sometimes I can go even quicker than that.
Yeah, about 107,000 words.
Right.
But, my writing style, first of all, I have a very firm rule, all good parts. You're not going to find a part where he takes some tangent to go have a relationship with his freaking dad. Okay, none of this crappy. I'm not building character. He expresses himself through his 45, Everything is either an action scene or a scene that shows the, red or blue worlds in an interesting or new way. Everything moves the plot ahead. I want it all good parts. So you read a part and go, oh, that was interesting. I learned something. I experienced something. I saw something. No, now we got to get to the part where he talks about his feelings. You're not finding that. All good parts.
Right.
Like a greatest hits album.
Have you ever cast Kelly Turnbull in your head? Who plays Kelly Turnbull?
I'm partial to conservative star Matthew Marsden. I think he'd be great.
Which one is
He's
Marsden?
Big, good looking.
What's that?
He's big. He's a good looking guy.
What was he in?
Oh God, Black Hawk Down, a whole bunch of other stuff.
Okay, all right. I'm trying to place.
Well, he's kind of been forced out of Hollywood because he won't take the vaccine, and he's also not a damn communist.
Okay. I call it Helen of Troy, Anaconda's Hunt for the Blood Orchid. Oh, okay. He's been in Resident Evil Extinction. Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, that guy would make a good Kelly Turnbull, wouldn't he?
Yeah. But like, here's the fun thing. I got called racist by the Bulwark guys.
Oh my God.
And my question was, okay, what color is Kelly Turnbull?
Yeah, you never really make mention.
Why is it important?
We didn't even know what color hair the guy's got.
No. Kelly Turnbull is who you make Kelly Turnbull into. Maybe it's Matthew Marsden. Idris Elba? He could do it. He's a big, strong guy, got a good presence, just do an American accent.
Yeah.
The thing is, look, I'm not Mr. Mr. Liberal, everybody hug each other. But the simple fact is that stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Kelly Turnbull is just Kelly Turnbull. And he could be played by whoever. It shouldn't be a point. It should be whoever's like going to be rock hardest as this character. And I hate stunt casting. They'll have like, we're casting for Queen Elizabeth I. Let's find a Maori tribeswoman. That'll show you. Take that. Racist expectations. It's like, I'm like, maybe this is like a really cool actress, but I feel like you're manipulating me. Don't manipulate me. Just freaking interest me.
That was Netflix a few years ago, and they made this Bridgerton show that's the Regency period in England, and like half of the
but it's a fan. But that
family is black, and it's like, come on, man.
But that's specifically a fantasy in the sense that the whole. They're not. It's not like the real thing. So I watched Bridgerton, and I didn't care.
Because what bothered me about it was that there were actually black people in England at the time, and they were slaves. Like that literally was a thing. So to me, it was kind of an insult to the folks that.
I could see that, but then again, I'm about merit. You get the best person, the best guy. If it's some, an Asian, differently abled Asian lesbian is the best person for the job, then it should be a differently abled lesbian Asian. I don't care. I just don't. I don't like feeling manipulated. I don't like being lectured to. And if you're like, all right, ta-da! This part, I've gotten a trans man to be this. Shut up!
All right, so
stop trying to manipulate me.
Where do you come down on 007 being cast as someone other than a person of power?
Not real interested. Yeah, if they're now it's like a woman. Okay, that's stupid.
Well, this is my
but
thing.
Like I said, Idris Elba. I mean, I think he'd be a great James Bond. He just is.
To me, like what I didn't understand was like, okay, he's 007. Ergo, there are at least 6 other people in that program. Why don't we make 006 or 008, Idris Elba or whatever?
Look, if Idris Elba can
let's have the entire agency. We could branch this franchise off into all different kinds of characters. Look what Marvel did with their deal. And I never understood, why does it have to be James Bond? Like within that universe.
as long as it's not a stunt, I don't care. As long as it's not trying to teach me something or change me. But we keep mentioning Idris Elba. I like Idris Elba. I mean, he's great.
No, I love him.
I think he's great, and he's got a good English accent, and he's a big tough guy. He's got a lot of presence.
He is English, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is an unfair discussion to Idris Elba because he's a great guy who's done a lot of great work and earned merit, and now, by the nature of this discussion and this stupid idiocy that's being imposed on us, we are reducing him to a skin color involuntarily, and I refuse to be part of that. I'm not going to do it. I refuse to be part of that. It's this idea that you have to be taught, and we've got to make a point out of everything. The only point I want is who's the best.
Yeah, well,
that's the only point I care about. And damn it, it may well be Idris Elba.
To give Idris Elba his due, I should mention this. There's a flick at, I think Amazon Prime has it. The name of the movie is Beast. And he is a doctor from, I think it's LA or it's somewhere in New York.
Oh, maybe. It's got lions.
Yeah. Yeah. It's basically
that's really cool.
I can't remember the name of the two man-eating lions in the movie with Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas.
I know which one you mean.
And I can't, the name escapes.
Yeah, anyway, I know which one you mean.
You got, so like you got the killer man-eating lion, and this guy's a doctor, and he's bringing his kids to South Africa to go, do like a safari thing, and they run up against this lion, just like
is it a cocaine
tearing everybody
lion?
To shreds. And Idris Elba's got to fight the lion, which is, and I tell you what, it's a really like totally underrated movie.
I would totally be down with
it. He's terrific.
I'd be totally down with Idris Elba fighting lions.
Well, then you would like Beast because it's a hell of a
here, just hear this out. Cocaine lions.
Oh, okay. Now that we've got Cocaine Bears, we can do.
We got Cocaine Bear. Right?
Yeah. Somebody told me Cocaine Bear is a conservative movie. I haven't seen enough of it.
Now I have seen Cocaine Bear. I'm not sure it's a conservative movie. I'm not sure it's like any movie at all. To ascribe any ideology to it, I think this is the whole point of Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, I guess so.
But it was like, I did think it was thought-provoking. You're like, no, that's not what I would do if I was presented with the threat of Cocaine Bear. I'd take different actions. So it does spark a lot of discussion about how, individuals will react in the context of a Cocaine Bear situation.
All right, well, let me hit you with one more movie because this is one I saw last night, and I can't make head or tail of it. You ever seen Nope? The Jordan Peele?
I've not seen Nope. It's one of those movies that's like always playing on Showtime when you're passing by, like the damn Twilight movies, and you're running through your cable, and it's there, and you're like, nah, nope. I don't know. Was it baffling?
Well, it's Jordan Peele directed it, who I like. And it's kind of it's like he was trying to knock off an M. Night Shyamalan movie, but he's like missing some parts, right? Like there's the plot reveal halfway through that like a third of the audience gets, and then the rest of the movie, it's like, oh, but I already know what's going to happen now. And everybody else is like shocked at the end, and then goes back and goes, oh, wait, I should have picked up on this because now it all makes sense. You don't have any of that in Nope. But the main character in Nope, basically Nope is all he says, right? Like there's a UFO that comes around and eats people out in the middle of nowhere, inland California, where this guy's got a horse ranch. And if you're looking at the UFO, it eats you. And he refuses to look at the UFO, and instead he puts his eyes down and he says, nope, 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 nope. And the UFO passes over him, and it goes and terrorizes everybody else. So it's funny, and it's a very strange movie. And it's a mess basically, but it held my interest for 2 hours. And honestly, that means I'm going to give it better than 5 because very few movies hold my interest anymore.
Well, I could tell you 2 words that would improve it. Idris Elba.
Okay. Well, we could try to figure it out. Nope 2 should star
Nope
Idris
2.
Elba. That's
Nope
it.
2. Still not buying
it. Do we call it Nope Nope, or do we call it Nope 2 or something?
Nope squared.
Nope squared. There you go.
They're like the Nope and the Furious. We have a crossover.
There you go.
Starring Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel and Idris Elba.
Vin Diesel. I like saying Vin Diesel.
On that note, I think we're probably going to have to break it because I know we've taken up plenty of your time, Kurt. Got anything else to say as a closing note before we get out of here?
Nope.
I walked right into that one. All right, well, guys, this has been The Spectacle. Check us out at thespectaclepodcast.com. Also, check out the American Spectator at spectator.org. Check out my sites at reviver.com, rvivr.com, and thehayride.com. I've got a new book coming out about Obama and the fundamental transformation of America, which I'm trying to make sure it's not the most depressing thing you've ever read, but it will fill in a lot of gaps because pretty much everything that's happening now got its inception during the Obama years. But that's a full discussion for another podcast. Kirk, they can find you at townhall.com
every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
All right. Anything else you want to push real quick?
Follow me on Twitter and go get Inferno. Get the Cold People's Republic series.
There you go. All right, guys. It's been fun. We'll see you next week. It'll be me and Melissa. And have a good one.